inventory. As you all know, legacy wells, which is horribly misnamed. These are these abandoned oil and gas wells in Alaska that were drilled by the government and then just left in a state of varying states of disrepair. We have been making some progress. We have identified the universe there in terms of the cleanup. And to Senator Feinstein's point, when she talks about an inventory, I think we have established, at least in Alaska, okay, you identify what it is that you have. Now you have to prioritize how we're going to be spending the money. We were successful in getting $50 million with helium funding last year. And I appreciate the fact that we've got a path, an action spend plan for that $50 million. But my concern is that there's still going to be a significant number of wells that will need to be attended to when that fund is exhausted. Now, you have included $3.8 million in this budget for next year. I understand that this is a budget for this year, but what we're still hoping to get is an understanding as to how we intend to deal with all of the federal government's obligations to clean up these wells up on the North Slope. Because if you're suggesting that it's $3.8 million this year and perhaps a like amount next year, I don't know what your calculations are, but I'm told, we're looking at 30, 40 years to clean up these wells if that's the case. Do you have an estimate of the likely cost to finish this environmental cleanup project in both money and time?
I'll give you the information I do have, and we'll get back to you on the record for that I don't have. There are 136 wells, these legacy wells. 50 were identified in 2013 as requiring remediation. Because of your...
I want to make sure that we're both clear on that, because I have heard that there is some disagreement still between the state and Interior in terms of whether or not some of these wells require that level of remediation. So I understand what you're saying, Secretary, and I don't dispute that, but I want to make sure that we're in alignment between state and feds on what the responsibility is.
Okay, yeah, I'm not aware of that dispute, but I will say, because of the work that you did with the helium fund, that we'll have 29 left requiring work at the end of 2016. We'll have 3 to 5 wells that we can do with what's in the budget for 17. It's called the Wolf Creek Cluster, and I think because they're together, we'll be able to address that. That still will leave, somewhere on the order of, mid-20s that need to be cleaned up. And what I don't have is the estimated cost to do that or the amount of time it would take. And of course, we would welcome the opportunity to work with you on a more permanent funding solution for this, just as we would on abandoned mines, just as we would on school construction. It's very difficult putting small amounts of money toward a program each year that is much larger than what we can address in the regular budget cycle. Understood,
absolutely. But I think this is one of those glaring examples where our federal government is just in the spotlight of being absolutely hypocritical when it comes to environmental standards. When it's the government that has drilled it, the government has walked away, the government acknowledges that we left a mess, and yet we can't prioritize that. I think part of the problem is, unlike perhaps abandoned mines in California, where you have a lot of people that are wandering around and hiking, North Slope is a long ways away. And there are not that many people that are on that North Slope. But you and I both agree that we've got a responsibility to that land. We have a responsibility to those subsistence hunters and fishers up there that are worried about the contamination. And our federal government left a mess, and they've got an obligation. So know that I'm going to continue my push on this, and we need to be working together.